Hello, my name is Daniel Marino, and this is Karate Thoughts. So, I have been a karate practitioner since I was a child. I've been a karate teacher now for my entire adult life, and this is just a weekly series where I talk about subjects that are related to karate. If you have a question you'd like me to answer or a subject you'd like me to cover in a future video, please leave in the comment section below. Today, I want to talk about karate grappling. So, I on this channel I share a lot of clinch sparring, and it's something I think has become a lot more popular in the karate community in the last couple of decades is integrating, striking with grappling. And when people see this, even other karate people, but I would say especially people from other parts of the martial arts community, when they see this, they're often kind of skeptical of it. What they'll say is karate grappling really a thing? Or is this just, a modern innovation, just karate people trying to be MMA? And I can say historically that karate definitely has always involved some kind of grappling. In terms of how well developed that grappling was and how comparable it is to modern grappling martial arts, it's kind of a different question. But there definitely was some kind of grappling that's always been present in the art. If you go back to the earliest publications that we have, so further from the 1920s and 1930s, there are a lot of the very prominent figures in karate's modern history. People like Gichin Funakoshi, Kenwa Mabuni, Motobu Choki, they all described karate as a combination of striking and grappling. One of my favorite books from this time period is Watashi no Karate Jitsu, published in 1932, written by Motobu Choki. There's a very good English translation of it available from Andreas Quast. But in that book, Motobu describes karate as, he says, it's not boxing, it's not jujitsu, but it incorporates elements of both. So right there you have it, that Motobu explicitly described karate as a combination of striking and grappling. Now, I think it's reasonable, a lot of people would speculate, I think it's reasonable to do so, that when we're looking at the karate publications from the 1920s and 30s, this was during a time when that first generation of Okinawan karate teachers were coming to Japan and teaching karate there. So there would have been a lot of influence from the Japanese martial arts of the time. And we can see this, in other aspects of the art very clearly. Of course, the dogi, the karate uniform, the belt system, these are things that karate adopted from judo. Judo was extremely influential to the martial arts world in general, but definitely to karate specifically. So when we see, like the series of throws that Funakoshi includes in his books, or the applications we see Mabuni doing in his books, or, the description that Motobu gives in his books, it's reasonable to kind of speculate how much of what they're talking about could have been due to the influence of Japanese martial arts. These guys were, I'm sure, learning and changing and developing karate, in their own lifetimes, and they even explicitly said so. So I think that there was always some kind of grappling that was always a part of karate, and we even know this from other, things in Okinawan martial arts. Like Okinawan sumo is very much a thing today. Even it's still a sport that's practiced there, and it's my impression of it. It's the style of folk wrestling, and you find folk wrestling all over the world. You find people doing different kinds of folk wrestling, specifically a form of belt wrestling. And these karate teachers, participated in this sport when they were growing up. They said so explicitly. So they had some kind of grappling experience, certainly, that was just a part of Okinawan culture. And then there were influences in Okinawa itself from Chinese martial arts and from Japanese martial arts. And then I think, especially with this generation of karate teachers, moving to mainland Japan and teaching karate there, I think there must have been a lot of influence from Japanese martial arts at the time. So, I think it's important. And where I think all this becomes relevant is when we look at the interpretation of the traditional forms, the kata in karate, because that's where a lot of this karate grappling kind of finds its basis or its justification among modern practitioners, as we interpret the movements found in the traditional forms. And then they'll often be interpreted as grappling or compared to more modern grappling. And I think we got to be careful when we're doing this. It's very difficult to, if not impossible, to verify any interpretations that we come up with for these traditional forms. And when we're comparing them to modern grappling arts, I think it's important just to be careful not to jump to conclusions too quickly with stuff like that. I don't know what grappling would have originally been like, in the Okinawan martial arts, what it would have been like in karate before it was brought to Japan. And even looking at the publications from that first generation that brought it to Japan, it appears to be fairly rudimentary. So I think it's important that we don't draw too strong of conclusions as to what can be found in the kata or what was truly original to the art. But I think that what we can say is that there always was some kind of grappling that was a part of karate. And of course, like everything else in the art, it's going to change and it's going to adapt and evolve and hopefully improve over time. So I don't think the karate people should have any, hesitation with incorporating grappling into what they do. I don't think that means that it's not karate. I think that even if, and it's what I've done myself and what many people do, even if, you cross train in other martial arts to develop your grappling ability and then incorporate it into your karate. I mean, that's what the old masters were doing themselves, and that's what the way that martial arts have always changed and evolved over time. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think maybe we should be honest about our sources. We should maybe be a little bit careful about how much we connect everything that we do back to the karate forms, the kata. But just in terms of having grappling in our practice and making that grappling functional, something that we use against resistance and even in competition, I think those are all good things that should be done in karate, and it's perfectly legitimate to do so. So I'm sorry if that was a bit rambling. I hope you're able to follow it, but thank you very much for listening. Again, if you have a suggestion for next week's video, a question you want me to answer, or a topic you want me to cover, please leave in the comment section below. If you have something to say about this subject, if you have something to contribute to this, subject about karate grappling and, your thoughts on it, please leave in the comment section below. So thank you very much for listening.